We're achieving each and every one of the military objectives I laid out less than 4 weeks ago. And we're doing it really, I guess we're 2 weeks ahead of schedule. We're not into it very long. We wouldn't have thought we would have been. We knew it was going to be easy. We call it a military operation. We don't call it a war. We call it a military operation. We're very disappointed, by the way, with NATO. They didn't come to our aid. I didn't try too hard, actually, because I wanted to prove a point. I didn't sell. They probably think I'm a lousy salesman. I said, would you like to help us? To President of France, Macron, nice guy. He is a nice guy. They said, Emmanuel, would you like to help? Yes. As soon as the war is over, we will send ships. I said, no. I don't want them when the war is over. I want them before we start. And UK, our longest ally, nobody ever thought this was possible. I said to the Prime Minister, Mr. Prime Minister, we'd like you to have 2 aircraft carriers. They're little ones. They're not very good. I know they don't go fast, and I know they don't work very well, but we could probably use them maybe for helicopters. And they said, yes, we are preparing them. I see, when will they be ready? Maybe in a month or 2. Oh, great, that's wonderful. I said, are you going to help us? Yes, we're going to help you when the war is finished. We will be there. This is NATO. And I've always said NATO's a paper tiger. And I've always said we help NATO, but they'll never help us. And if the big one ever happened, and I don't think it will, but if the big one ever happened, I guarantee you they wouldn't be there. And we learned from that. And remember what I said, because they made a big mistake. They were not there. The Chancellor of Germany, these are all friends of mine, Friedrich, the Chancellor of Germany, he said, this is not our war. We have nothing to do. Well, Ukraine's not our war, but we helped them. I wouldn't have had to help. If I were president, that war would have never happened. But we had a man of a very low IQ as president, and he had no idea what the hell he was. I was listening to him talk. I said, he's forcing an issue that's going to be trouble, and it turned out to be trouble. Last week, 28,000 soldiers died. The week before that, 32,000 soldiers died. I think we're going to get it settled, but it's a terrible thing. Worse since World War II. I settled 8 wars, and this should have been one of the easier ones, but the hatred between President Putin and President Zelensky is extreme. Never good. Hatred's a bad thing when you're trying to settle a war. I want to thank the entire kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Been very helpful, unlike NATO. Saudi Arabia fought, Qatar fought, UAE fought, Bahrain fought, and Kuwait fought, even though they shot down 3 of our planes with the finest missiles. We could have done without that. They didn't know they were our planes. They wasted 3 great Patriot missiles, and you have to say there's nothing like these Patriots. We had an attack of 101 a few days ago. 101 missiles shot at a very valuable thing that we had floating on the water, namely an aircraft carrier, biggest in the world. And they were shot, 101, going 2,500 miles an hour. And out of the 101 missiles shot, 101 missiles were shot down and spread out all over the sea. Pretty amazing. That's called incredible technology, right, Steve? That's called great technology. Think of it, 101 missiles going 2,500 miles an hour. You don't have a lot of time. And these aren't necessarily weightlifting shoulders. These are very smart people doing that. And I watched them. I watched their performance. Missiles launched. It's almost like they're bored by it. They have like 9 seconds head of FIFA, the most powerful man in sports. Johnny, you never choked, right? These guys can't choke, but they're very smart. High IQs. We need high IQs. We have too many low IQ people. But what happened is, you have to see it. It's very cool. Missiles launched, missiles launching. They're launching. Okay, we're ready. 101 missiles coming at them. All right, we have to have like 11 seconds to make a determination. Then at 7 seconds, fire. It's the most unbelievable thing. Fire, boom. one at a time, just knocked them out like they were nothing. Genius. It's like unbelievable. I mean, to think and we have the technology nobody has. Look at what happened in Venezuela. They had other equipment, not ours. They made the mistake of using other equipment. Didn't work too well. And Venezuela was, took 45 minutes. It was a 45-minute war. This one's bigger. This one's bigger. It's a bigger country, a lot more powerful. It's a lot more powerful, but it's not powerful anymore. Within 2 days, I think the damage was done, but now it's really done. Now we're just going after targets. And they have no anti-aircraft, so we're just floating over the top looking for whatever we want. And we're hitting it, and we have another 3,554 targets left. And that'll be done pretty quickly. And then, at some point, we're going to have to determine what we do. But they've never seen anything like it. When we hit Venezuela, that's a very strong military country. They have soldiers. If you've ever been there, they have a lot of soldiers walking around all over the place. Everyone's a soldier. Very military kind of a place. And there was a general, professional general, really good. And he said, we were all set for him. We knew there was a problem when we noticed at 1 o'clock in the morning, every 32 seconds, another airplane, a very fast plane, was coming off the deck of an aircraft carrier. That's actually the biggest aircraft carrier in the world. And every 32 seconds, boom, boom, boom. And it was 1 o'clock in the morning. So we said, okay, I think we're in trouble. But they were ready for us, Johnny. And we were ready. He said, we were ready. And then they hit us, and they came from 17 different angles. They were here, they were there. We ran for our lives. It was over. And it was over. And then we took this guy who was a very bad guy, and within literally minutes, he was in the back of a helicopter in a house that was in a big military base with thousands and thousands of soldiers. The house was all steel, with steel doors, steel everything. They had the small steel doors, the big doors. We were equipped for anything. Even the big one would have been opened within 30 seconds. They walked in with blow torches. And within minutes, he was out of the house, being thrown into the helicopter, sailing away, and the soldiers just looked. Bye. Enjoy your trip, sir. It was amazing. It was but this is more amazing what's happening now, because we took a very strong country. I could see, the problem you would have had. I mean, this was not a weak country. This was a strong country. They had over 10,000 missiles that they accumulated since October 2nd, if you think. Since the B-2s, they accumulated them in a matter of months, 6 months. But they had well over 10,000. They had rocket launchers. Rocket launchers are more important than the rockets, because you take a rocket launcher out, that's the end of that. People think you can take those big rockets and throw them out your window, like when you were a child with the paper airplanes. You thought, it doesn't work that way. You need those launchers, and we knocked out 97% of the launchers. That's why you may be attacked, but you're not being attacked with very heavy numbers of missiles like at the beginning. But in particular, I want to thank my friend, the Crown Prince Mohammed, who is a fantastic man and a great friend of mine, and a friend of all of yours, I think. And he's a warrior. He was not afraid of this country that, frankly, he should have been afraid of, because they're very powerful. I want to thank Tamim, because these three people have been unbelievable. Tamim, and then UAE, Mohammed. These are three great people. And they were under tremendous attack, unexpected attack. And they weren't thinking this was going to happen. Nobody was. And they turned against them and really became very powerfully aligned. And they were with us, but they weren't with us very obliquely. They were with us. But I think that I have to acknowledge for their bravery, because they were being hit pretty hard. All three of them, they were being hit pretty hard. The Emir, Mohammed, you had two Mohammeds and a Tamim, and they're friends of mine. And also I have to say that Bahrain and Kuwait, they were stand up. more so than NATO. I want to tell you, more so than NATO. Now, they're a little closer to the action than NATO in all fairness, but very disappointed with NATO. But I wasn't disappointed with our allies in the Middle East and others